Poisoned Pen Society. Chapter 1. The Exclusive Club. In the year 1932, London was in the grip of a cultural renaissance. Hidden among the city's maze of foggy streets and grand facades was a secretive literary club, known only to a select few, the Poisoned Pen Society. The society consisted of 8 renowned authors, each famous in their own genre, who met monthly at the Bramblewood estate, an old mansion owned by their eccentric host, Lord Rupert Cavendish. The members of the club included Edith Blake, a Gothic novelist whose dark tales of the supernatural kept readers up at night; Arthur Davenport, a mystery writer known for his locked-room whodunits; Lydia Sterling, a sharp-tongued journalist turned social commentator who was unafraid to expose powerful figures; Julian Merrick, a reclusive poet whose melancholy verses had gained him a cult following; George Dunhill, an adventure novelist famous for his daring protagonists and exotic settings; Francesca Moore, a romance novelist with a loyal readership and a passion for scandalous plots; Hugh Lambert, a historical novelist who meticulously recreated the past in his works. The Poisoned Pen Society was exclusive, its membership tightly controlled by Lord Cavendish, a man as enigmatic as his club. Each meeting was centered around a literary theme, and the members were encouraged to challenge one another with riddles, puzzles, and critiques. But beneath the intellectual discussions, tensions simmered. Rivalries, old grudges, and jealousy flourished in the shadow of their success. On this particular evening, the theme was the perfect crime, and as the group gathered in the lavish dining room of Bramblewood Estate, none of them knew how prophetic the night's theme would turn out to be. Chapter 2. The Challenge. The meeting began like any other. The members gathered around a roaring fire, sipping wine and discussing the latest literary trends. Lord Cavendish, a man with a flair for the dramatic, stood before them, announcing that this meeting's challenge would be particularly special. "Tonight," he said with a gleam in his eye, "we are going to create the perfect crime. Each of you will offer a scenario, murder of course, and then we shall decide whose scenario is the most devious, the most unsolvable." The group eagerly took up the challenge, each one crafting a murder scenario more twisted than the last. Edith proposed a murder by poison in a haunted house, while George outlined an elaborate plot involving a fatal fall from a mountain. Arthur's contribution, a locked-room mystery involving a secret passage, drew nods of approval from his peers. But it was Lydia Sterling who offered the most chilling suggestion. "What if the murderer is one of us?" she asked, her voice calm and measured. "What if one of us, right here in this room, were to kill another? And what if the murder were committed in such a way that none of us could ever know the truth?" A cold silence followed her words. The group laughed nervously, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Lord Cavendish, always one to appreciate a good plot twist, smiled widely. "A tantalizing idea, Lydia. But we are all here for sport. No real crimes will be committed tonight. Or so I hope." The evening wore on, but an unsettling tension filled the room. After dinner, the group retired to the library for brandy. That's when things took a deadly turn. Chapter 3. The Murder. As the night progressed, Lord Cavendish excused himself from the group, saying he had a surprise for them. The authors waited, glasses in hand, discussing Lydia's hypothetical murder scenario, but as minutes turned into half an hour, concern began to grow. Arthur Davenport suggested they check on their host. "It's unlike Rupert to disappear without putting on a show. He loves the spotlight." They headed to Lord Cavendish's study, only to find the door locked. After several failed attempts to rouse him, George Dunhill and Hugh Lambert forced the door open. Inside, they found Lord Cavendish slumped over his desk, his face ashen, a glass of brandy knocked to the floor, and a small silver vial lying near his hand. Panic swept through the group as Edith Blake felt for a pulse. Lord Cavendish was dead. Arthur, ever the mystery writer, examined the scene. "It's poison," he declared, picking up the vial. "Someone has killed him, and that someone is still in this house." Chapter 4. The investigation begins. Inspector Frederick Montgomery was summoned to Bramblewood Estate within the hour. A tall, no-nonsense man with a sharp eye for detail, he immediately sensed the peculiar dynamics at play. The Poison Pen Society wasn't just a group of friends, it was a battleground of egos, and Lord Cavendish's death had turned a literary rivalry into a real-life murder investigation. Montgomery interviewed each member, and the alibis quickly unraveled. None of them had left the library for any significant time, and all claimed to have been together when Lord Cavendish died. But the inspector wasn't convinced. With poison, the crime could have been committed earlier, perhaps when they were all having dinner. The poison, as determined by the inspector, was strychnine, a rare and fast-acting toxin that caused painful convulsions and death within minutes. The vial found near the body was unmarked, but it matched a set of antique apothecary bottles Lord Cavendish kept in his private collection. The poison could have been easily slipped into Lord Cavendish's brandy at any point during the evening, but no one had seen anyone tampering with his drink. Inspector Montgomery quickly noted that Lydia Sterling, the one who had suggested a murder among the group, was already the subject of much speculation. But Lydia, unflinching in the face of suspicion, pointed out the obvious. "If I were the murderer, do you really think I would have floated the idea of one of us committing the crime? It would be far too obvious." The group began to splinter, old rivalries flaring up as accusations were thrown. Edith and Arthur, known for their professional jealousy, each accused the other of orchestrating the murder for their own reasons. Arthur for the drama, Edith for inspiration for her next novel. Chapter 5. The Secrets Unveiled. As Montgomery dug deeper, he uncovered the tangled web of relationships and motivations behind the group. George Dunhill was revealed to be in heavy debt, a fact Lord Cavendish had known, and perhaps intended to expose. George's adventure novels had been declining in popularity, and he had borrowed large sums from Cavendish to keep his extravagant lifestyle afloat. Could George have killed to prevent a public scandal? Julian Merrick, the reclusive poet, had a different secret. He had been in love with Lord Cavendish's late wife, and many suspected that Cavendish had driven her to her untimely death with his cruel and controlling behavior. Julian had always harbored resentment towards Cavendish, and now that resentment had a possible outlet. But the most damning evidence came when Inspector Montgomery found a letter in Francesca Moore's belongings. It was an unsigned blackmail note addressed to her, threatening to reveal a past affair with Cavendish that had ended badly. Francesca had much to lose if her secret came to light, and the note suggested Cavendish had intended to expose her to the group. With each new revelation, the list of suspects grew, and the inspector was faced with a puzzle that only the members of the Poison Pen Society could have dreamed up themselves. Chapter 6. The Poison Pen. Montgomery realized that the key to the murder lay not just in who had motive, but in the manner of the crime. The poison, the locked room, the group of suspects, these were all elements of a carefully orchestrated murder. designed to mirror the very mysteries the society had spent years discussing. The killer had not just wanted to commit murder, they had wanted to right the perfect crime. The inspector decided to lay a trap. He gathered the group in the library once again, presenting a forged document that he claimed was a new piece of evidence. Letters written by Lord Cavendish, detailing his knowledge of each member's deepest secrets. He claimed Cavendish had intended to reveal them that very night. As expected, one of the members took the bait. Arthur Davenport, the mystery writer, attempted to slip away quietly after hearing about the letters. Montgomery intercepted him, and under pressure, Arthur confessed to the murder. Arthur had always prided himself on his intricate plots, and he had grown tired of Lord Cavendish's dominance over the group. His ego couldn't bear it anymore. When Cavendish hinted that he planned to reveal Arthur's penchant for borrowing ideas from other writers, Arthur decided it was time for Cavendish to die. And what better way than through the perfect crime? He had poisoned the brandy hours before Cavendish drank it, confident that no one would suspect a man who had spent years devising such crimes in his novels. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. With Arthur Davenport in custody, the Poison Pen Society was left in disarray. The group, once bound by their love of literature, had been torn apart by jealousy, secrets, and murder. Inspector Montgomery left Bramblewood Estate knowing that while the case had been solved, the society would never be the same. The perfect crime had been attempted, but even the best mysteries couldn't withstand the sharp eye of a determined inspector. As the fog lifted and the sun rose over London, the surviving members of the society realized that the stories they had once told for fun had turned into a dark reality. They could no longer trust each other, and the Poison Pen Society was finished.